The blood was purple against the snow. Captain Mitchell found her at dawn, half buried in the drift behind the research station, her forearms twisted at angles that made his stomach turn. He didn't think. He just lifted her, so light, like holding paper, and ran. "Jesus Christ," Dr. Okonkwo breathed when he kicked open the med bay doors. "What is that?" "Alive," Mitchell said, laying her on the table. "That's what matters." The alien's skin was crystalline, translucent enough to see the fractures webbing through her torso. Two of her eyes were swollen shut. The other two watched him with something that might have been fear or might have been hope. Her breathing came in short, whistling gasps. "I need your kit," Mitchell told Okonkwo. "All of it. We don't know her biology. Then we learn fast." He was already scanning her with the medical array, watching data flood across the screen, four-chambered circulatory system. Silicon-based cellular structure, internal temperature dropping. "She's hypothermic. Get the thermal blankets." Okonkwo moved, finally, pulling equipment from cabinets with shaking hands. Who did this to her? Don't know. Don't care right now. Mitchell found a vein, if that's what it was, in her lower left arm and inserted an IV line. The scanner suggested glucose analogs. He started the drip. "Stay with me," he said to her. "You hear me? Stay with me." One crystalline hand moved, trembling, and touched his wrist. The grip was weak. The station's AI chimed. "Captain Mitchell, unauthorized medical intervention detected. This entity is unregistered." "Protocol requires override," Mitchell snapped. "Authorization Mitchell, 7 Alpha. Xenobiological specimens must be quarantined pending." He pulled the AI's processing core from the wall socket. Silence fell except for the alien's labored breathing.
"That's going to get you court-martialed,"
Okonkwo said quietly. "Get me the bone regenerator." They worked for 3 hours. Mitchell's hands didn't shake once, even when he had to realign her shattered ribcage equivalent, even when purple blood soaked through his gloves. Okonkwo called out readings. Temperature rising, breathing stabilizing, fractures mending under the regenerator's field. The alien never made a sound. When her eyes finally closed, all 4 of them, and her breathing evened into something like sleep, Mitchell stepped back. His uniform was ruined. His career probably was, too. "She'll live?" Okonkwo asked. "Maybe." Mitchell looked at the bruises wringing her throat. Somebody wanted her dead. The marks are deliberate, methodical. Okonkwo enhanced the scan. This wasn't an accident or an animal attack. Someone beat her and left her to freeze. Mitchell's jaw tightened. We're 60 light-years from the nearest settlement. How did she even get here? The answer came at noon when the sky split open. The ship was massive, blotting out the sun. Its hull was the same crystalline material as the alien's skin, refracting light into rainbow fragments across the snow.
"It settled above the research station without a sound."
"Oh, God," Okonkwo whispered. Mitchell was already moving, checking the alien's vitals one more time before heading to the airlock. "Stay with her. If anything changes, where are you going?" "To talk." He pulled on his coat. "They're here for her. I'm going to make sure they know she's under my protection. Mitchell, you can't..." But he was already gone, boots crunching through snow toward the ship's shadow. The landing ramp extended with liquid grace. 3 figures descended. They were taller than the woman he'd saved, their crystalline bodies darker, more opaque. They wore armor that looked grown rather than forged. The one in front held something that was definitely a weapon. Mitchell stopped 10 meters away and raised his empty hands. "I'm Captain James Mitchell, United Earth Survey Corps. The individual you're looking for is in my care. She was critically injured when I found her. She's stable now." The lead alien's 4 eyes focused on him with an intensity that felt like standing in a spotlight. When it spoke, its voice resonated directly in Mitchell's skull, bypassing his ears entirely. "You touched Valsara." "Not a question, an accusation. I saved her life. You contaminated her." The alien's weapon hummed, charging. "You violated the separation protocols. The penalty is death." Mitchell didn't move. She was dying in the snow. I couldn't leave her." "You should have." The second alien stepped forward. She was exiled. "Cast out. Your interference disrupts the cleansing." Cleansing. Mitchell's hands curled into fists. "You beat her half to death and threw her in the snow. That's not cleansing, that's murder. The third alien made a sound like breaking glass. A human lecturing us on law. How quaint. I'm lecturing you on basic decency. Mitchell's voice was steel. She's alive. She's recovering, and she's not going anywhere until she's strong enough to speak for herself. The lead alien moved faster than Mitchell could track, suddenly close enough to touch. You know nothing of our ways. Velsara broke covenant. She loved without permission. She carried offspring unapproved by the matriarchy. Her punishment was just. Mitchell felt cold that had nothing to do with the snow. She was pregnant? Was. The alien's tone was flat. The cold took what should never have been. The exile served its purpose. Your intervention merely prolonged her suffering. That's not your call to make anymore. Mitchell's voice dropped. She's on Earth territory, under Earth protection. You want her, you go through proper diplomatic channels. Or we go through you. The weapon was at his throat. Mitchell looked into those alien eyes and didn't blink. Then do it. But know that every action here is being recorded. Transmitted. Earth will know you murdered an unarmed officer performing humanitarian aid. Is that how you want first contact to go? Silence stretched. The weapon didn't waver. Then a new voice cut through the tension, weak but clear, speaking in that same mind voice. Stop. They all turned. Velsara stood in the medbay doorway, one hand braced against the frame, thermal blanket wrapped around her shoulders. Her legs shook, but she stood straight. He saved me, she said. Under your law, that makes him bound. You cannot harm him without harming me. The lead alien's weapon lowered slightly. You dare invoke, I invoke every right remaining to me. Velsara took one trembling step forward. You took my mate. You took my child. You took my name and home. But the law of sanctuary remains. This human showed compassion when my own people showed none. By that compassion, he is bound to me, and I to him. The matriarchy will honor this or stand revealed as lawless. The three aliens stood frozen. Then slowly, the weapons lowered completely. The queen, the lead alien said, will hear of this. Good, Velsara replied. Let her come. The aliens retreated to their ship. It lifted without a sound, leaving only rainbow reflections fading in the snow. Mitchell caught Velsara as her legs gave out. You shouldn't be standing. I shouldn't be alive. Her four eyes met his, too. Don't thank me yet, Mitchell said, carrying her back inside. Something tells me we just made things much more complicated. She rested her head against his shoulder. The queen will come. And when she does, you will understand why I had to invoke the binding. It's the only thing that can protect you now. Protect me from what? Velsara's crystalline fingers gripped his uniform. From being honored, human. My people honor their debts in ways that change everything. Outside, the sky was empty again, but Mitchell could feel it. Something massive, something powerful, turning its attention their way. The real storm hadn't even started. Dr. G. Okonkwo wouldn't stop pacing. Do you understand what you've done? That was a Crystari ship. The Crystari matriarchy controls 17 star systems. They could glass this entire planet, and Earth wouldn't even know it happened until the light from the explosion reached home. I know what they are. Mitchell adjusted Velsara's IV, watching the purple fluid drip steady. She was sleeping again, her breathing finally normal. Doesn't change what was right? Okonkwo laughed, high and brittle. You plugged back in the AI, yes? Check the news feeds? Check what's happening. Mitchell pulled up the station's communications array. The screen flooded with alerts. Every major news network in human space was running the same footage. His confrontation with the Crystari, recorded by the station's external cameras and automatically uploaded before he'd killed the AI. The headlines were variations on a theme. Human captain defies alien empire. First contact turns hostile. War? Fantastic, Mitchell muttered. It gets better. The colonial authority is demanding your immediate arrest. The Joint Chiefs want you court-martialed. The UN is calling emergency sessions. And, Okonkwo pulled up another feed, 12 different human activist groups have declared you a hero and are planning protests if Earth caves to Crystari pressure. Mitchell closed his eyes. I just wanted to save her. Well, congratulations. You've turned one woman's survival into an interstellar incident. A chime from the medical scanner pulled Mitchell's attention back to Velsara. Her neural activity was spiking. Dreaming, maybe? Or remembering? He wondered what memories haunted someone who'd lost everything. Tell me about the binding, he said to Okonkwo. I've been researching. Okonkwo pulled up files on his tablet. Crystari culture is rigidly hierarchical. The matriarchy controls reproduction, who mates with whom, which offspring are permitted to live. Unsanctioned relationships are punishable by exile and death, but they also have complex honor codes. The binding is, it's like becoming family. Deeper than family. When someone saves a Crystari life, especially from other Crystari, the debt becomes existential. The saved is bound to protect the savior. The savior is bound to shelter the saved. Breaking it is worse than death in their culture, so she protected me by binding us together. She trapped you both. Okonkwo's voice was gentle. If the queen accepts the binding, you're part of Crystari society now, subject to their laws, their customs. If she rejects it, Velsara broke covenant again, and the punishment will be worse than exile. Either way, you're in the middle of something you don't understand. Mitchell looked at the woman sleeping on the medical bed, so fragile despite her alien nature. She lost a child. Did you catch that part? I heard. They made her lose a child because she loved the wrong person. Mitchell's voice was quiet, dangerous. What kind of society does that? One we can't fight, Captain. One we can barely comprehend. Okonkwo sat down heavily. The Crystari are old, Mitchell. Really old. They've been traveling stars for 10,000 years while humans were still figuring out agriculture. Their technology, their weapons, their understanding of physics, it's all beyond us. If they decide we're a threat or an inconvenience, Earth won't survive the conversation. Then maybe Earth needs to grow a spine. Or maybe one brave idiot with a savior complex needs to accept that some things are bigger than doing what feels right. Mitchell met his friend's eyes. Would you have left her in the snow? Okonkwo looked away. No. God help me, no. But I'd be terrified about what came next. I am terrified, Mitchell admitted. But she's alive. I'll figure out the rest. Velsara's eyes opened. First two, then the others, focusing slowly. She looked at Mitchell, and something like relief crossed her crystalline features. You're still here? Where else would I be? Running. Most would run. She tried to sit up. Mitchell helped her, adjusting pillows behind her back. Her forearms moved independently, gracefully, despite the lingering tremors. Thank you. Again. I seem to be perpetually in your debt. You saved my life right back, Mitchell said. Call it even. The binding doesn't work that way. Velsara's lower hands gripped the blanket. I have made you a target. The queen will come. Not tomorrow, perhaps. Not even soon. But she will come, and when she does, you will be tested in ways humans cannot imagine. Tell me about the queen, Mitchell said, pulling up a chair. Help me understand. Velsara was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her mind voice carried echoes of old pain. Queen Kethrala has ruled the matriarchy for 3,000 of your years. She is brilliant, ruthless, and absolutely convinced of her divine right to shape our species. Under her reign, the Crystari have expanded across 17 systems. We are powerful, we are feared. We are also dying. Dying how? Our genetic diversity is collapsing. The matriarchy's control over reproduction has created bottlenecks, mutations, stillbirths. Each generation is weaker than the last. Velsara's voice dropped. I am a geneticist. I saw the data. I presented it to the queen. She dismissed my concerns and ordered me to focus on approved research. Let me guess, Okonkwo said. You didn't. I fell in love with a male from a forbidden lineage. His genes were strong, pure. I knew our offspring would be viable, would strengthen our species, so we bonded in secret, conceived in secret. Her hands trembled, but the matriarchy monitors everything.
They discovered us.
My mate was executed. I was carrying our daughter when they dragged me to the exile ship. Mitchell felt rage building in his chest, cold and focused. They killed your mate and exiled you while you were pregnant. The cold was meant to kill us both. The daughter I would have named Sela. The future I dared to imagine. Velsara's eyes closed. You found me. Saved me. But Sela was already gone. I felt her presence leave during the night. The cold took her before dawn. The room was silent except for the hum of medical equipment. I'm sorry, Mitchell said finally. The words felt inadequate, worthless. I'm so sorry. Do not apologize for giving me life, Captain. Apologize if you waste what I have left. Velsara opened her eyes. The queen will come because I invoked the binding. She will test you because humans are unknown, unpredictable. If you pass her tests, you may survive.
The binding will hold.
If you fail, if I fail.
She will take me back for final judgment. And she will destroy your station, your reputation, possibly your world, to prove that human compassion means nothing against Crystari law. Velsara leaned forward. So you must not fail, James Mitchell. You must be stronger, smarter, and more dangerous than she expects. You must show her that humans are not weak, that compassion is not weakness. No pressure, Okonkwo muttered. Mitchell stood, moving to the window. Outside, snow fell in soft spirals. Peaceful. Beautiful. Completely at odds with the situation. How long do we have? Days? Maybe weeks? The Queen moves on her own schedule. Velsara paused. There's something else you should know about the binding. What? It is not just political. It is biological. She raised one hand, letting light refract through her crystalline fingers. Our touch, our proximity, our shared experiences, they will change you slowly at the cellular level, not transformation. Not harm, but adaptation. Connection. You will begin to understand my people in ways no human has, and I will understand yours. Mitchell turned from the window. That's why the other Crystari were so disturbed. I didn't just violate protocol. I started becoming part of your world. Yes, and through you, humans become part of our story. The Queen cannot allow that without ensuring your species is worthy. Worthy? Mitchell laughed bitter. We're barely unified as a planet. We've got 15 different governments that can't agree on lunch. We've been in space for 60 years, and we've colonized 3 marginal systems. What makes us worthy of anything? Velsara's 4 eyes studied him with unnerving intensity. You saw a dying stranger in the snow and risked everything to save her, not because of politics or advantage or fear, because it was right. That, Captain, is what makes you worthy. The question is whether the Queen will see it. The communications array chimed. Mitchell checked it, then swore softly. We've got incoming.
Multiple ships?
Human. The Colonial Authority? Okonkwo asked. Worse. Joint Military Fleet. They're probably here to arrest me and hand over Velsara as a diplomatic gesture. You cannot let them take her, Velsara said urgently. If I am delivered to the Queen by humans as appeasement, it invalidates the binding. The Queen will see it as weakness, as submission. She will take what she wants and give nothing back. I'm one captain with a research station, Mitchell said. They've got warships. Then you must be cleverer than warships. Velsara stood, unsteady but determined. You must make them understand that giving me up is not diplomacy. It is surrender. Mitchell looked at Okonkwo. Can we barricade the medbay against a military boarding party for maybe 10 minutes? Then we use those 10 minutes. Mitchell pulled up the station's control systems. I'm going to make a lot of people very angry. What's your plan? Okonkwo asked. Mitchell's fingers flew across the keyboard. I'm broadcasting everything. Every scan of Velsara's injuries. Every detail of her story, every second of footage showing what the Crystari did to her. I'm sending it to every news network, every social media platform, every government database I can hack into. By the time that fleet docks, the entire human species will know exactly what they're demanding I hand over. That's mutiny, treason, about 6 other crimes I can't even name. It's transparency. Mitchell hit send. Data began flooding outward, riding every communications channel the station could access. Let's see them explain to Earth why we're handing over an abuse victim to appease an empire that tried to murder her. The response was immediate. Message boards exploded. News feeds went wild. Within minutes, protests were being organized on Earth, Mars, Luna, every major settlement. The fleet was still hours away, but public opinion was moving faster than any ship. Admiral Chen's face appeared on Mitchell's screen, fury barely contained. Captain Mitchell, you are hereby ordered to stand down, cease all communications, and prepare to transfer custody of the alien entity to military authority. Negative. The entity has a name. Velsara. And she's under my protection. You don't have the authority. I have the moral authority. I have the binding, and now I have about 8 billion humans watching to see what Earth does next. Mitchell leaned into the camera. You want her, Admiral? You come take her. But you do it on camera, in full view of everyone. You explain why Earth's first action in interstellar politics is to hand over a victim to her abusers. Chen's jaw worked. You're destroying your career. I'm saving a life. Careers are replaceable.
The transmission cut.
Velsara touched Mitchell's shoulder. You have made powerful enemies. Yeah, well, I'm collecting them today. He pulled up the external cameras. The fleet was decelerating, taking position around the station. 6 warships, enough firepower to reduce the research station to atoms. They won't fire, Okonkwo said, though he sounded uncertain. Not with this much attention. They won't need to. Mitchell watched Marines deploying in assault shuttles. They'll board, arrest me, and take Velsara by force. Legal, clean, done. Then what do we do? Mitchell looked at Velsara. We trust that I made enough noise to matter, and we wait for the Queen. The Queen won't arrive in time to stop them, Velsara said. No, Mitchell agreed, but maybe she'll arrive in time to judge what they've done. The first shuttle docked with a heavy clang. Boots echoed through corridors. Mitchell sealed the medbay doors and activated every lock he had. 10 minutes, you said? If we're lucky, Okonkwo replied. Velsara sat on the medical bed, composed despite everything. You should save yourselves. Give me up. There's still time. Not happening. Mitchell checked his sidearm, useless against military-grade armor, but the weight was comforting. We started this together. We finish it together. The first cutting torch hit the door. The torch screamed metal glowing orange, then white. Mitchell stood between Velsara and the door, hands steady despite the sweat on his palms. Okonkwo had wedged himself into the corner, tablet clutched like a shield, still broadcasting everything. Captain Mitchell, came a voice through the door's comm system, professionally calm. This is Major Santos, Colonial Marines. We have orders to extract you and the xenobiological subject. Please open the door and this will go smoothly. The subject has a name, Mitchell called back, and she's not going anywhere. Sir, we have authorization from the Joint Chiefs and the UN Security Council. This is not a request. Then it's a mistake. Mitchell kept his voice level. Major, are you watching the feeds? Do you see what's happening on Earth right now? A pause. My orders don't change based on public opinion, Captain. They should. Mitchell glanced at Okonkwo's tablet. The protests had grown exponentially. Every major city on Earth was flooding streets. Luna's main dome had shut down from the crowds. Even Mars, quiet, conservative Mars, had thousands gathered outside government buildings. You're about to arrest an officer for saving a life? You're about to hand over a woman who was beaten, exiled, and left to die by her own people. And you're doing it to appease an empire that might not even want her back once they see what we've become. What you've become is a mutineer, Captain. The door comes down in 30 seconds. Make this easy. Velsara stood. James, look at me. He turned. Her 4 eyes held his 2 with unexpected gentleness. You have done enough, she said. More than anyone could ask. But this battle is not yours to win by force. Let them take me. Trust that what you started will finish itself. I can't. You can. You must. She stepped closer, placing one crystalline hand on his chest. He felt warmth spread from the contact, something deeper than heat. The binding, he realized. Already changing him. The Queen will come. When she does, she will see what Earth has done, how your people responded. That matters more than one captain's defiance. The door shuddered under renewed assault. 10 seconds. Mitchell looked at Okonkwo, who nodded slowly. Then back to Velsara. I'm sorry, he said. Do not be. You gave me something my people forgot existed. Hope. She smiled, an expression that translated perfectly across species. Now show them why that matters. Mitchell lowered his weapon and opened the door. Marines poured in, professional and efficient. Major Santos entered last, taking in the scene with sharp eyes. Captain James Mitchell, you are under arrest for violation of quarantine protocols, insubordination, unauthorized contact with xenobiological entities, and about 12 other charges command will brief you on. You have the right. I know my rights, Major. Mitchell kept his hands visible. Just tell me one thing. Off the record. Santos hesitated, then nodded fractionally. If it was your daughter in the snow, dying, alien or not, would you have left her there? The Major's jaw tightened. She didn't answer. Didn't need to. Cuff him, she said to her team. Secure the xenobiological, the individual named Velsara. Medical transport to the flagship. By the book. Gentle. They were gentle, Mitchell noticed that. No rough handling, no unnecessary force. Santos herself helped Velsara into the transport chair, making sure the restraints didn't touch her healing fractures. "Thank you," Velsara said quietly to Santos. The Major's expression flickered. "Just doing my job, ma'am." They moved through the corridors, Marines ahead and behind. Mitchell's hands were bound, but he walked straight, head up. Okonkwo followed, also restrained, still clutching his tablet. The broadcast was still running. The shuttle bay was organized chaos. 3 shuttles were docked, Marines efficiently securing the station. Mitchell saw techs downloading data from the AI core he'd disabled earlier. Everything was being documented, preserved, prepared for courts-martial and diplomatic incidents. Admiral Chen waited by the flagship's shuttle, arms crossed. He was younger than Mitchell expected, maybe 45, with the bearing of someone who'd earned every star on his collar the hard way. "Captain Mitchell?" Chen said as they approached. "You've created quite a situation, sir." "That wasn't a compliment?" Chen stepped closer. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" The Crystari Empire could interpret this as an act of war. 1 ship, 1 woman, and you might have doomed Earth to a conflict we cannot win. Or I might have shown them that Earth has principles worth respecting. Principles don't stop antimatter warheads, Captain. No, sir. But they might stop us from becoming something not worth saving. Chen studied him for a long moment. "You really believe that?" "Yes, sir." "I do," the Admiral sighed. "Get him on the shuttle. And someone shut down that damn broadcast before we have riots in the fleet." "Sir," Okonkwo spoke up, "the broadcast isn't coming from the station anymore. It's distributed. Every repeater station from here to Earth is carrying the signal. You'd need to shut down half the communications network to stop it." Chen's expression could have melted steel. "Of course you would. Fine. Let them watch. Let them see what idealism costs." They were loading into the shuttle when the sky changed. It wasn't gradual. One moment, stars shone clear through the observation port. The next, something massive displaced space itself, reality rippling like disturbed water. The ship that materialized was 10 times the size of the Crystari vessel that had come before, its crystalline hull so vast it had its own gravity, pulling small debris into orbit. Alarms screamed across every human ship. "Battle stations." Chen was already moving. "All vessels, defensive formation. Power weapon shields to maximum. Do not fire unless—" "Admiral," Santos said quietly, "look." The massive Crystari ship wasn't moving aggressively. It simply was, hanging in space above them like a cathedral made of frozen light. Its presence alone made the human warships look like toys. No hostility. No weapons charging. Just absolute, overwhelming presence. Then the communication came, not through radio or laser link, but directly into every mind within 1,000 kilometers. The Queen's voice was ice and diamonds, ancient and utterly certain. "I am Kethrala, Queen of the Matriarchy, Keeper of the Lineage, Voice of the Crystal Throne. I have come for what is mine." Velsara went rigid in her chair, every one of her eyes wide. Mitchell felt the binding pull taut, a connection he hadn't fully understood until that moment. The Queen wasn't just speaking. She was testing, probing, examining every mind she touched. He felt her attention slide across the human ships, dismissive, calculating. Then she found him. The sensation was like being dissected by thought alone. The Queen's consciousness pressed against his, reading memories, emotions, intentions. He felt her surprise, sharp and brief, when she touched the memory of finding Velsara in the snow. Felt her confusion at his decision to save her. Felt her absolute certainty that humans were too young, too chaotic, too primitive to matter. Mitchell didn't fight the intrusion. He let her see everything. His fear, his determination, his absolute conviction that leaving someone to die was wrong regardless of politics or species or cost. The Queen's presence withdrew, leaving him gasping. "Fascinating," her voice echoed. "The human who broke protocol, who defied his own leaders, who bound himself to my subject without understanding what he did." A pause. Captain James Mitchell. "You will come aboard my vessel, alone."
We will speak.
"Negative," Chen said immediately. "That's not happening. Captain Mitchell is under military custody and I am queen of an empire that could vaporize your fleet before your weapons finish charging." No anger in her voice, just fact. "The captain will come aboard, or I will take Velsara and destroy everything within 10 light seconds of this location. You have 30 of your seconds to decide." Chen looked at Mitchell. "You don't have to go." "Yes, sir, I do." Mitchell turned to Velsera. What will she do? Test you, Velsera said quietly. Judge you. Decide if humans are worthy of the binding, or if this was all a mistake to be corrected. Her crystalline hands gripped the chair arms. James, the Queen has ended civilizations for lesser provocations than what you've done. Be careful. Be honest. And remember that strength to her is not what you think. What is it then? Conviction. Absolute, unshakable conviction. She respects nothing less. A beam of light materialized from the Queen's ship, a transport field that hummed with power. It settled around Mitchell, gentle but inexorable. I'll be back, he said to no one in particular. Then he was moving, lifted by alien technology through vacuum and distance, into the heart of the Crystal Cathedral. The Queen's ship was impossibly beautiful inside. Walls of living crystal pulsed with inner light, refracting into colors humans had no names for. The architecture was organic, grown rather than built, every surface flowing into the next with mathematical precision. Mitchell's boots touched down in a vast chamber where geometry itself seemed negotiable. At the center, on a throne that looked carved from a single frozen star, sat Queen Kethrala. She was larger than Velsara, her crystalline body denser, darker, shot through with veins of something that might have been metal or might have been captured starlight. She had 6 arms instead of 4, and her eyes, 8 of them, arranged in 2 rows, focused on Mitchell with the intensity of a supernova made conscious. Approach, she said. Not mind voice now. Actual sound, resonating through the chamber. Mitchell walked forward, refusing to hurry or hesitate. When he stood 10 meters from the throne, he stopped. You are younger than I expected, the Queen said. Your species is young. Your technology primitive. Your understanding of the universe barely past its infancy. And yet you dared intervene in matriarchal justice. Explain. She was dying, Mitchell said simply. I couldn't leave her. Why not? She was not your species. Not your concern. The protocols of her punishment were clear. You had no obligation to act. I had a moral obligation. A human obligation. Mitchell met those 8 eyes without flinching. We don't let people die when we can save them. It doesn't matter who they are. Even when saving them brings consequences you cannot imagine, risks you cannot calculate. The Queen leaned forward. You have disrupted carefully maintained protocols. You have created political complications that will ripple across multiple star systems. You have bound yourself to one of my subjects, changing both your biology and your future. All for a stranger you found in snow. This is not logic. This is not strategy. What is it? Humanity. The Queen was silent for a moment. Define. We're messy. Emotional. We make mistakes. We fight among ourselves. We're barely unified. We've been in space for less than a century. Mitchell took a breath. But we try. We try to be better. To save each other. To believe that individual lives matter more than systems or protocols or ancient laws. Maybe that makes us foolish, but it also makes us us. And if I judge that foolishness unworthy, if I decide the binding was a mistake and humanity lacks the maturity to join the greater galactic community, then you'll be wrong. Mitchell's voice was steady. Your Majesty, with respect, you nearly lost Velsera because your protocols valued genetic purity over love, over life. She's brilliant. You must know that. She saw your species dying and tried to save it. And your response was to kill her mate and exile her to freeze to death. That's not justice. That's fear. The temperature in the chamber dropped. Several of the Queen's courtiers, Mitchell hadn't even noticed them standing in the shadows, made sounds of outrage. One stepped forward, hand on a weapon. The Queen raised one hand. Silence fell. You dare, she said softly, to lecture me on fear. I dare to tell you the truth. It's all I have. Mitchell didn't back down. You said you wanted to see what humans are. This is what we are. We speak truth even when it's dangerous. We save lives even when it's complicated. We believe that rigid systems that can't bend eventually break. And if I break you now? If I decide this experiment has gone far enough? Mitchell thought of Velsera, of the snow, of the child lost to cold and cruelty. He thought of Earth, messy and chaotic and beautiful. 8 billion people watching to see what their ideals cost. He thought of the binding, that strange warmth connecting him to someone he'd known for less than a day but would apparently defend with his life. Then you prove that power and wisdom aren't the same thing, he said quietly. And you lose the chance to learn from us, Because, Your Majesty, you're not testing me. You're testing yourself. You're deciding if an empire that's lasted 10,000 years can adapt to something new. To chaos. To compassion that doesn't fit your protocols. He paused. Velsara said your species is dying. Maybe it's dying because systems that can't change eventually suffocate everyone in them. The silence stretched so long, Mitchell wondered if he'd finally gone too far. Then the Queen laughed. It was not a kind sound. It was the laughter of glaciers cracking, of stars going nova, of something ancient encountering something it hadn't anticipated in millennia. It echoed through the chamber, through Mitchell's bones, through the binding itself until he felt Velsara, distant on the human ship, react with shock. Velsara chose better than she knew, the Queen said finally. You are infuriating, Captain Mitchell. Presumptuous, reckless. She stood, towering over him. And possibly correct? Mitchell waited, barely breathing. The matriarchy has ruled through control for 10,000 years. We have created stability, order, power. The Queen descended from her throne, moving with liquid grace. But stability has become stagnation. Order has become rigidity. And power. She stopped in front of Mitchell, close enough that he could see his reflection in her crystalline skin. Power exercised without wisdom becomes tyranny. My daughter said as much in her final report before I had her exiled. Daughter? Velsara is my daughter. Did she not tell you? The Queen's tone was unreadable. My youngest, my most brilliant, my greatest disappointment, and my secret hope. She turned away. I knew what would happen when she bonded with the Forbidden. I knew she carried a child who might save our species, and I exiled her anyway because the protocols demanded it. Because admitting she was right would mean admitting I had been wrong for 3,000 years. Mitchell's mind reeled. You exiled your own daughter knowing she was pregnant? I ordered her death. The Queen's voice was ice. The exile was meant to be final. Permanent. A message to all who would challenge the matriarchy's control. She faced him again. But you found her. Saved her. Bound yourself to her. And in doing so, created a situation where I must either honor ancient law or reveal myself as lawless. Where I must either accept that a human captain has more courage than a Crystari queen, or destroy you all to hide that truth. So what will you do? The Queen studied him with all 8 eyes. What I should have done 3,000 years ago. I will adapt. She raised her voice, and it carried beyond the chamber, through ship and space, into every mind connected to the binding. I, Kethrala, Queen of the Matriarchy, acknowledge the binding between Captain James Mitchell of Earth and Velsara, exile no more, Princess of the Crystal Throne. The human showed compassion where we showed cruelty, courage where we showed fear. He has earned the binding, and through him, humanity has earned our attention. Mitchell felt something shift in the universe, as if reality itself was taking notes. Furthermore, the Queen continued, I revoke the protocols that led to Velsara's exile. The matriarchy will no longer dictate the hearts of its people. Love, when it strengthens us, will be celebrated rather than punished, and genetic diversity rather than purity will become our path forward. She looked at Mitchell. This is your fault, Captain. You saved one life and changed an empire. I hope you're prepared for the consequences. I'm really not, Mitchell admitted. Good. Certainty is the death of growth. The Queen gestured, and the chamber's walls became transparent, showing the human fleet in the research station beyond. Your species is young, chaotic, prone to astonishing acts of both cruelty and compassion. You are not ready to join the galactic community as equals. You may never be ready. But the binding is established. Through Velsara, through you, our species are now connected. We will watch. We will judge. And perhaps we will learn. What happens now? Mitchell asked. Now? You return to your people. Face your courts-martial. Endure your consequences. Velsara will remain with you. The binding demands it. Where you go, she goes. What you face, she faces. The Queen's expression might have been a smile. I suspect humans will not know what to make of having a Crystari princess in their midst. I suspect your leaders will be deeply uncomfortable, and I suspect you will navigate it with the same stubborn compassion that started this entire mess. And you? The matriarchy? We will change. Slowly. Carefully. Against our every instinct. The Queen touched Mitchell's shoulder with one crystalline hand. The contact sent light racing through his nerves. Do not mistake this for weakness, Captain. I accept the binding and acknowledge your courage, but I am still Queen. I still rule 17 star systems. And if humanity proves unworthy of this chance you've created, I will end your species without hesitation or remorse. Am I clear? Crystal, Mitchell said, and couldn't tell if the pun was intentional. The Queen's eyes gleamed. Velsara definitely chose well. Go. Your admiral is having a stroke watching this conversation. Put him out of his misery. The transport beam took Mitchell again, carrying him back through space to the flagship shuttle bay. He materialized to find every Marine's weapon trained on him, Chen looking like he'd aged a decade, and Velsara was crying. Crystalline tears tracked down her face, refracting light into tiny rainbows. She restored you, Mitchell said softly. She called me daughter again. Velsara's voice broke. After everything. She called me daughter. Mitchell went to her, and the Marines parted without orders. He knelt by her chair, and she pulled him into an embrace with all four arms. The binding sang between them, warmth and connection, and a future neither had planned but both would face. We're really in it now, he murmured. Yes. Court-martial political catastrophe. Interstellar complications. She pulled back, smiling through tears. Worth it? Mitchell looked around the shuttle bay, at Chen, who was trying very hard not to show relief. At Santos, who'd quietly lowered her weapon. At Okonkwo, still broadcasting, still documenting everything. At Earth, distant but watching, 8 billion people who'd just learned their place in a larger universe. Yeah, he said. Worth it. 3 months later, Captain James Mitchell stood before the Joint Chiefs, Velsara at his side. The court-martial had been complicated. The charges were real, the violations clear. But public opinion had made punishment politically impossible. Earth's people had spoken, and what they'd said was simple. We stand with the captain who stands for us. The verdict came down. Dishonorable discharge commuted to time served. All charges dropped in exchange for Mitchell becoming Earth's official liaison to the Crystari matriarchy. It was punishment and reward and career suicide and opportunity all wrapped into one impossible package. Congratulations, Mr. Mitchell, Admiral Chen said dryly. You're now humanity's representative to an empire that could annihilate us. No pressure. None at all, sir. Velsara touched his arm. We should go. The Queen's ship arrives tomorrow. There is much to prepare. They left the chamber together, stepping out into Washington's winter sun. Snow was falling, soft, gentle, nothing like the deadly cold where this had started. Do you miss it? Velsara asked quietly. The military. The clear command structure. Knowing your place. Mitchell thought about it. Sometimes. But then I remember that my place would have been leaving you to die. So no, I don't miss it enough to regret what I did. Even with everything it cost you? Even with... He caught a snowflake on his palm, watching it melt. You know what the strangest part is? I keep thinking about Sela, your daughter. How she would have grown up in a universe different from the one you knew. How she might have been the bridge between our species that we're building now. He looked at Velsara. I'm sorry I couldn't save her too. Velsara's expression softened. You did, in a way. The protocols that killed her are gone. Other children will live because you acted. Other love will flourish because you refused to accept that protocol mattered more than life. She took his hand. Sela's legacy is change. I find peace in that. They walked through Georgetown drawing stairs, a human and a Crystari, bound together, changing the universe one stubborn step at a time. Somewhere above them, the Queen's ship was already en route, carrying the weight of 10,000 years of civilization and the possibility of something new. What do you think she'll want when she arrives? Mitchell asked. To test you further. To see if Earth can handle what the binding means. To judge whether humanity deserves partnership or needs containment. Velsara smiled. The usual diplomatic challenges, right? Easy. Mitchell stopped walking, turning to face her. Velsara, whatever comes. Whatever the Queen throws at us, whatever Earth decides, whatever mess we're walking into, I don't regret finding you. I don't regret saving you. And I won't regret whatever comes next. Even if it's war. Even then. Because some things matter more than safety. Some lines you don't cross no matter the cost. He squeezed her hand gently. You taught me that. You and the choice you made to love when love was forbidden. To fight for what was right when right meant losing everything. Velsara pulled him close, her crystalline body warm against his. The binding hummed between them, growing stronger every day. Then we face it together. Earth and the matriarchy. Human and Crystari, captain and princess.
Together, Mitchell agreed.
Above them, stars began to appear as daylight faded. Somewhere among them, 17 star systems watched and waited. An empire older than human civilization, now connected to Earth through one act of compassion in the snow. The future was uncertain, dangerous, full of challenges neither species could fully imagine, but it was also possible, hopeful, alive with potential. Mitchell looked up at those stars and smiled. He'd saved one life. And he'd do it again.